Welcome to the Painting Insights podcast. We have been working on something in the background.
That's right. We've actually started a Patreon channel. For the last couple of months, we've had previous guests revisit the channel to give us additional content, everything from studio tours, sketchbook tours, talking us through the process of paintings and all kinds of additional treats, which you're exclusively going to see as a patron who supports the channel.
So by supporting us on Patreon, you help the channel keep going. There's a lot of work put into this, from the video editing to the sourcing of guests. So you really help us find those guests and to put the content out.
And we have lots of content planned for the near future. So the links for that will be in the description of this video and in the description on the podcast channels. And otherwise, you can go on to Patreon and type in Painting Insights Podcast and support us that way. Thanks very much. Enjoy the video.
Happy New Year, everybody, from the Painting Insights podcast. So we just come on here to give a quick New Year's message and to wish you all well. And thank you for listening. And thank you to all of the artists that have been on and have been interviewed. So we have some interesting things coming up in the new year, and I'll pass you on to Simon to talk about them.
Yeah, I'm going to be launching on YouTube a highlights video. A highlights channel, because I've noticed that for channels that I really like, when it's long form videos or audio, if there's little bite-sized pieces that you can revisit just to see either the color palette or them talking about plein air or, whatever it is, composition or something, those little clips will now be isolated so that you can just press on it and they go, oh, there's a Tushar clip or there's an Andrew Tischler clip or whoever it is. There'll be all highlights that will be starting from next year. So early in January, that channel will launch. I'll have it linked in the description of the YouTube channel. I don't think it'll be linked in the audio. It's up to you. I don't know if it's going to make sense to do. Do you link the YouTube channel in the audio platforms or?
No, it's just the podcast audio.
So it'll be linked in the YouTube channel. So if you can, so you can find it there. I don't know. I'll promote it on the Instagram account as well, so that there's a link in the stories or something like that. Or there'll be some way of you to find that as well. And it'll definitely be on the YouTube videos. I'll put a link in all of the videos there. So that's going to be launching soon. I'm looking forward to it. I've revisited a lot of the interviews, so I know there's loads of really interesting bits that I want to take out, because they just work well on their own as just a bite-sized piece of either advice or storytelling. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So that's going to be coming up soon. But yeah, other than that, there is obviously we've only posted 3 interviews so far. And again, because I haven't said it, I hope you had a great Christmas and Happy New Year for today. But yeah, we've only posted 3 interviews so far. So the next episode will be next Wednesday on the 8th of January. So the rest of the episodes will be still the same amount as normal. These are just 2 bonus videos. And speaking of bonus videos, we're actually doing a little something, aren't we?
Yes, so we're going to be launching a bonus show each month, and it's going to be an episode with just Simon and I talking and having conversations around art, around the creative process, around the art business, talking about galleries, talking about all kind of things along those lines, along with books we're reading, and just those kind of things in general. And in many ways, it takes Simon and I way back to the beginning of how all of this began, where Simon interviewed me on his podcast, and the conversation just continued from there. So what we're going to do is every month get together and have this conversation and bring some of my experience in from running a gallery now, and this is what we'll talk about in the first episode, and really as a way of talking as artists and just having these conversations and it being a more casual format where we have the back and forth. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Well, before we start recording, we usually talk about the galleries and the art making that we've been doing, and
Yeah,
and then books. We've just been talking about books and discussing bits of the artists that we love and appreciate, and
yeah,
why it's really interesting and relevant. And it'd be just great to offer that to the audience as well, because
mm,
I just think it's really great conversation to be shared. So that's what we're looking forward to doing. So that'll be coming up once a month. One of those will be posted. But as a little treat for the New Year video, I'm going to show you some clips from, or you're going to be hearing some clips from upcoming interviews from our guests that are yet to come. So here is a compilation of some of the guests we've got coming up soon.
Once I discovered plein air painting, it's pretty much all I wanted to do. I really, really found it, I was learning stuff all the time. You're learning about color, value, you're learning how things are put together, you're learning drawing. And then it was just painting after painting after painting after painting. Pretty much every day for like 2 years, all I did was plein air paint. And I was looking for a way to capture what I was interested in, and what I was interested in at that time was capturing the city, London, and naturally that led me to really pick up the work of people like Pete Brown or Ken Howard and study it. And I think that led me down that sort of path. And I really have no other easier way of explaining it other than I genuinely think that it helped me capture what I saw. But the reason I found it unsustainable was because that wasn't me. And it didn't really connect with me as a person, that method of painting. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I've learned recently, is that if you want to do something every day, it has to fit within your sort of personality. And I find that I'm way better when I'm alone, working pretty much in this room all the time. And being outside and painting in the middle of the street is, from where I'm sitting now, it's like my idea of hell. And at the time, I just thought, well, this is just the way it goes. This is the way to paint. This is the way to do it. And a lot of people out there talk about plein air painting as being the way to do it. You have to do it. There's plein air conventions. There's plein air competitions everywhere, and there's a lot of artists that would, unfortunately, in my opinion, have you believe that plein air is the only way to do a painting. And I kind of got sucked into that until I did it so much that I basically burnt myself out. And then that was probably the beginning of me thinking, okay, there's got to be a better way. And then all of the experiments I've done since, I would say, March of 2022 have been leading me to where I am now, which is where I feel like I have a process that I can depend on and rely on, and it's unique to me.
I rarely start with a fixed idea, so I start with something. Can be just ink or splatters or a face, and I keep going until something happens, and I kind of, it sounds like a buzzword, but I'm trusting the process, or trusting that it will be good. And a lot of times something comes out, sometimes nothing comes out. That's also happening, but I just keep going, and I think most of the times it works out the way I want to.
From the moment I start painting, right? I don't look at the like, I kind of need for myself to solve in a way the composition, more or less. but so many things change. So from the moment I put paint on the canvas, I am not certain of how it will end. So because I don't have a clear image, let's say 100% clear image of how this will look, then my brain has a little door, a little bit open to actually see what happens in front of me. And some fragments happen by chance and they turn out a lot more beautiful or as a point of attention, other than I have intended it in the beginning. And because that little door in my head is open, I actually notice it, right? I notice it happening, and then I make a decision to leave it or take it out, right? So if a wonderful moment happens, and I'm like, wow, this actually happened, then I think, okay, but let's go back to what I intended to paint. Does this take away from my main intention? Or why does this fragment work so well? Why did I get so interested in it? Do I actually want to say this? So it's, you see what I mean? Because before I knew with a lot of certainty what the painting will look out like before I started painting.
When I was in school, I'd studied illustration because the painting department at my school was a lot more conceptual and was very good if you already knew how to paint before you got there, kind of thing. But if you're like me, didn't know how to do it, it wasn't as good. And in illustration, I learned how to kind of invent things. Like one of the biggest kind of tenets of that study is learning perspective, learning how things kind of work and interact in the world. And that skill set was something I worked on for a really long time, but never really found a way to use it in my work until, a little bit recently I was kind of learning like, if I take these skills that I learned, I can now make the images I'm making not just something from a photograph per se, or like something that's just you could photograph it, but I can also use those skills to heighten the meaning or the metaphor. So this really came through for me in this one of the paintings I made recently. It's called Dream. It's like kind of me laid out and reflected in this landscape, and you're kind of in this landscape underneath. And one thing I really liked was, obviously I could photograph myself being reflected and then an exterior behind me and all that stuff. But by adding that kind of peaceful landscape and that vibe to it, it really amplified that feeling of like, kind of like being in between a dream and reality, or like slowly emerging into that. As well as there was a painting I did a while ago in a laundry room. And this was when I had first moved into my apartment. It was so hot outside, and we always had to lug the laundry from the apartment to the laundry room just because there was no in unit. And literally it felt like I was melting in there. Like it was awful. And I'd have to do it a couple times a week. And all of a sudden I just came to I was like, okay, I'm going to make a painting about this, but what if the laundry machines are melting, like quite literally like waving and melting to kind of represent that feeling. So in a lot of ways, it was using the skills I had gained to give myself more freedom with image making. And also another thing too is like if I was kind of afraid of something, or I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to paint this, I always viewed that as a good thing. I was like, okay, like this is a good way to go into a new painting, because that means even if I fail, I'll kind of grow in some way, because it's not completely in my comfort zone.
So those episodes will be out regularly once per week, and look out for our bonus show as well, which will be out at the end of each month. Simon, is that correct? Or the beginning? So thank you again for listening, and have a wonderful start to the new year.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. If you can support the podcast by leaving a like or a comment down below, that would really be great. But what we'd really like is if you're able to leave a review on the podcast channels, wherever you listen to it or download it, because that helps us get spread around the internet so that more people have access to us and able to see what we're making.
Also, follow us on Instagram, and we'd really appreciate it if you like and engage with our posts. Help get the podcast better known. Thanks for listening.